Hey now, welcome to part 2 of my chicken coop build video. In this video, I go and install the vinyl plank flooring, get the wiring and electrical all hooked up, and finish off the walls with insulation and house wrap. We're taking this vinyl plank flooring here and we're running it right over top of the plywood and actually going underneath most of the edges here. We're going to be getting some more framing in here. It's going to run right over top of this, and that way we're not worried about like butting up against the 2x4s and worrying about expansion contraction widthwise. Vinyl on the floor of the coop is done, and we're going to get some of this other framing in here. This is a nice double pane window here that I found at a farm garage sale for 10 bucks. Awesome. A little scuffed up. I'm going to wind up painting that metal there. I had to create some sort of frame for this because it came with no hardware. I did pick up these awning window brackets from a window part supply store, and then I just made this little frame here just out of some scrap wood I had kicking around, just for sort of a proof of concept idea, which works. So I know exactly how I want to construct this, so I'll do that out of proper wood now. In order to install this window frame, I've measured out, I want this window to be as high as possible here, and it's going to be centered. So I've measured out the 25.5 inches here, and I'm going to just actually go ahead and secure this, but I need my set of hens for that. So here we go. We are just framing in what is going to be the little access door here for these chickens. So this is going to be the size of the actual opening we can go through to clean things up, to access whatever, to be able to access the temperature controller and whatnot. Yeah, all that fun stuff here. So it's going to be, I believe, 35.5 inches by 25.5 inches here, and it's going to be a very similar panel to what we've got going on for the access under the coop for the run, except it's going to be an insulated door. So we're just going to go ahead and screw all of this stuff in. Okay, I've got the automatic chicken door here that I'm going to be installing. You can check out my unboxing video on that if you want. But essentially I'm going to be mounting it pretty close to this edge here so that I can have a ramp that just goes down into the run here. Of course, I do have to frame it up because I want to leave room for the shavings and all of that underneath here. So next step is simply framing that. I need an 8.5 by a 12-inch hole that I'll have framed out. So I cut this 1/2-inch plywood here. It's 2 pieces, and it just splits right along that middle 2x4 there. And I'm going to go ahead and screw this on here from the top in just a second. The other thing here too is that I've got, I calculated the 1/2-inch plus the 1/2-inch plywood that'll be out here, plus the paneling that'll come out, and then an extra 2-inch overhang all the way around. Okay, so the rigid insulation is in. There's this stuff here, which had an R rating of 5, and then I also had some 1/2-inch styrofoam that had an R rating of 2.5. So we got 7.5 in the ceiling. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually just throw up some polyplastic here. I'm just going to staple it all the way along, and then we'll be able to put up our plywood ceiling. Now I'm going to put on the back wall here. I'm going to work on the exterior, and for these outside walls, I'm going to use more of my offcuts just because it's going to be covered up with paneling anyway, and then the interior walls shouldn't have any seams like in the middle of the walls. Just like that. So 2 pieces there, made up this back wall. Now I'm going to go ahead and fire on these panels here on either side of the window. So we put these side panels on over here on either side. And now we're also going to put in the interior wall for this. So I just threw in a few little pieces of 2x4 here just for some bracing. We can screw in, and then there's one in the bottom because it's also going to attach there on the inside, if you can see that. So I want to get the insulation in here first, and then we'll kind of tuck everything up, secure it, and get a strip across here just as a little ceiling to cover that insulation. All right, I'm going to be cutting out the chicken door here. This is the port through which they're going to pass. This will be the exterior panel. All right, so I want to put in the panel that's going to be on the back side of the window here. This is insulated and polyed. In order to cut out this window, I actually set this up here in place. Well, that would be upside down. I set this in here in place, opened up the window from the outside, and drew the shape of the window, and then took it out and jigsaw cut it similarly to what I did for that other panel there. So yeah, I'm just going to screw this in now. I'm wanting the first vent to be on this wall here, next to the tree, actually. I'm going to do the same trick where I'm just going to run the drill through and then jigsaw around. Power for the coop is going to come through this shore power plug, which is going to just run through the back of the coop here. In order to do that, I'm just going to use a 2-inch hole saw and blast a hole through here. For the electrical, I'm going to be using sheathed household wire, and I'm going to want it to come through here, through this stud, and run this way. So I'm just going to use this bit here and drill through. And with this, we are closing up our first wall. Pretty exciting. We've run the vinyl 6 inches up the walls, all the way around through here. We also put in a divider right here that has insulation inside, and it has a strip of vinyl on top just to cap it. I made the frame for the door here just by throwing a couple screws in each direction. Just about done building the main access door. So I did that using just a plywood square frame, or sorry, a 2x4 square frame, plywood on the back. That was attached to this other square frame, just the 2x4 is oriented differently. And then there was a little bit of a gap here because I wanted to make sure that this doesn't catch on the inside frame of the coop. So I threw some plywood there. I'm going to put some of that styrofoam insulation right here, which then make this flush, and fiberglass insulation here, and then go over the whole thing with plywood. I'm building the electrical panel here, which is going to have the temperature controller and the timer for the lights on there. So I just secured this electrical box to these two 2x4s, and I'm just throwing a piece of 1/2-inch ply over top of that, and then another 2x4 probably on the back here, just to make for easy mounting on the interior of the coop. Inside this wall, I'm going to run the wiring up here and then over, and it's going to come out here. So I'm just going to use some of these staples to hold this in place. Just trying not to crush my thumb like I did yesterday. Excellent. This is going to be the roosting bar here. We're actually going sort of with an L shape just because of this, the size and whatnot of this coop. So it'll be basically like this, using the 2x4s so that during the winter they can roost on here and they can cover their feet with their feathers and all that. So we're going to have our heating panel back here. So, roosting bar installed, and I've got my Ma Pool Express radiant wall panel heater, which is just going to get mounted up right over here on this wall. The final interior wall is installed. So again, that was insulation, polyplastic, this plywood, and now I'm going to put in this panel. I need 2 hands for that. I'm going to run the electrical in there, and I'm going to have a second electrical box up here. Electrical is pretty much all good to go. So coming through here, it runs up and goes to this set of outlets, and then to that set of outlets. I have the light, which I want to be able to run through this timer, so I just modified this to turn it into essentially like a plug-in light, which will be powered by the timer during the winter, just to keep the chickens laying, hopefully. I also have this temperature controller here, this Inkbird controller, which is what is going to allow the panel heater here to operate again during the winter. And then I do have, so that outlet there is where we are going to have the chicken door and potentially a water heater plugged in as well. Now it's time to get this house wrap up around the walls. House wrap installed. This is just really trying to eliminate drafts. Some of the drafts that might possibly come through here, particularly in the winter, just because the climate is so cold. If we live somewhere warmer, I might not necessarily be as worried about that. But yeah, this is where we are. That does it for part 2. Check out part 3, where we go ahead and get this this paneling on here, get all the hardware on, set up the ramp, and finish off the run.